Welcome back to the studio, everybody. This is Bobby. On deck today, I have this Mr. Sinister statue from Wicked 3D. Mr. Sinister is an Xmen villain who is known for cloning himself. And if you'd like to make a clone of this statue, then stick around because I'm going to show you how to do it. Hope you like it. Here we go. The first step, as usual, is to get everything prepped and primed. I like to start from the bottom up, so I'm using this Vallejo metal color chrome on the metal parts of the base. For the other little metal bits on the base, I'm going to be using this copper and bronze from Army Painter. And now I'm going to use a little bit of this Vallejo black wash on the base. That'll knock some of the shine down a little bit and bring out some details. And for the disembodied brainstem thingies here, I first painted them white, and now I'm going to paint them with this weird elixir from Army Painter. And some Army Painter skeleton bone white for the spinal cord. Going back to work on the base now, I'm applying some matte black to the smoke cloud and the wiring that's kind of running around the base, and just any other little details that need to be blacked out. I noticed a little detail in these column pieces. It's a little ribbon cable. So I thought this was a nice opportunity to add a bit of color to this whole thing so it's not so drab. So I used just the basic green, red, blue, and yellow to paint this ribbon in here. And it adds a little surprise pop of color in this piece. I actually kind of am happy that I did it. Moving on to the body, I'm going to use this gunmetal blue from Vallejo on the main kind of blue armory parts of his legs and torso. And back at the paint desk, I'm going to use this matte black from Army Painter to cover that overspray. And before I paint the skin and his little neck hole here, first have to black it out because I don't want the base to be shiny underneath. And I used the matte black on all the leathery bits on the torso as well. Going back to work on the brains, I'm going to use this company gray to dry brush just across the top to tone down the pink and make it look a little kind of a undead fleshy kind of color. I don't really even know what I'm doing here, but the company gray seemed like the right approach. To paint their irises, I first started with a bit of black all the way around. That'll kind of help me get a nice black edge around the iris. Then I use a little bit of green and a little bit of blue on the other one to set the base color for the irises. And for final detail, I mixed up lighter color versions of the green and the blue and added little striations into the eyes just to give them a little bit more pop. And finally, a well-placed dot for the pupil. Next, I'm going to use some red wash around the base of the eyeballs to give them a little bit of a bloodshot, kind of redness. And I'm going to make a couple passes at this just to kind of build up the red, layer by layer. going back to work on the base now. I'm going to use some of this ash gray to paint the cloud volumes. I don't want to just cover this with paint. It's really just more of hitting the high spots and kind of building it up, so it gives it more of a billowing kind of smoke look. And to finish off the smoke, I'm using a bit of off-white with a dry brush to just hit the high spots and really bring this smoke cloud to life. While I was in a dry brushing mood, I used this deep ocean blue from Army Painter on the high spots of the leather, so that just want to catch the edges to give a little definition into these leather pieces, so they're not just flat black. Mr. Sinister is wearing a red leather cummerbund double belt thingy, so in order to make that red, I first have to make it white. And while waiting for that to dry, I'm going to apply some of this green alcohol ink to the magical green smoke thing that he's got in his hand. Again, I don't know 100% what's going on here, but green seems like to be the correct answer, so that's what we're going to go with. Back at the paint desk, it's time to start adding some Army Painter Dragon Red to the belt that we had previously painted white. Going to work on the cape now. I'm going to be adding some of this deep ocean blue from Army Painter. I want to give the cape on the backside a bit of a blue to black gradient, just so it's not just a flat black. Back with the black wash, I'm going to use this on the metal parts to give it a little bit of shading, some low lighting, just kind of basically going around the muscles and giving the muscles a little more definition. Again, just to break up the shininess a little bit and give it some depth. In order to bring out the leathery look of his belt, I'm using the same black wash. As the wash settles into the low spots, it really helps separate and brings out the texture to give it more of a leathery material kind of look. And to complete the look, I want to give it a bit of a dry brush with the Dragon Red, just to brighten it back up so that it doesn't look overly saturated with the wash. And I'm going to use this Vallejo Metal Color Chrome on the last bit of detail, the buckles on his big fat belt. Alright, it's time to get started on this cape. Starting with some cold white as the base layer for the red. I like to think I'm a positive person. I try to have a positive outlook on things. But I really hated this cape. I'm using the word hate here. I really hated it. It was a lot.
3 days later.
After several coats of white, now it's time for some Dragon Red from Army Painter. That is quite enough of that. Moving on, I'm going to use some Plastitac to mask off around his neck hole so I can start painting his skin tone. And when I'm using putty for masking, I like to use these little silicone tools. It just helps push the putty into place and smooths out the line quite nicely. And then I like to use a bit of cling film to cover the rest of the model. Just pushing it down into the putty gives you a nice airtight seal. It's real easy to put on and easy to take off. and it's all reusable. So you can keep the same piece of plastic and use it multiple times, and you don't have to feel so bad about using up materials. I'm going to use this dark blue gray from Vallejo as the base layer for the skin. I want it to be dark, but I also want to have a little tint of blue in it, so this dark blue gray should be perfect. Next, I'm going to use some ash gray from Army Painter to start building up the tones of the skin, and just kind of hitting the high spots. My next step is to mask off around the diamond on his chest. Then hit it with a layer of Vallejo Metal Color Chrome. And then a layer of red alcohol ink. Tamiya panel liner going on. Here's a quick tip. Keep a piece of paper handy when you're airbrushing so that you can periodically check your airbrush to make sure that the paint is flowing the way you want it to. It's important to periodically, give it a check while you're using it, because the paint can dry in the tip, and you don't want to be in the middle of spraying your model when something goes awry. So keep a piece of paper handy, check it often. And that has been your airbrush safety PSA for now. So let's get back to work. I want to give his cape a gradient from black to red on the inside, from the top down, just because the red's feeling a little flat, and I want to make it a little more dynamic, a little more interesting to look at. I'm going to use this Vallejo Cold White on the base to set the intensity for the glow in the middle of the base here, where I want it to look like it's casting light, kind of giving off a green glow. So I first have to give it a nice white to dark gradient here, right in the middle. And continuing with the OSL, I need to apply to the legs where he's standing over the light source, and then to the other parts and stuff that kind of stick onto the base. And to give this light source some color, I'm going to use this Tesseract Glow. It's from Citadel. It's a technical color. It's really great for making glowy kind of light effects like this. All right, finally, let's get to work on this portrait now. I'm going to start with some matte black on his little pointy goatee thing. I don't even know what that is. It's a shiny plastic thing, it looks like. Whatever, I'm just gonna paint it. I painted in the black around his hairline, and went ahead and blacked out the rest of his hair. And then I used an off-white on his teeth, just to go ahead and get those started. Then I painted in his eyebrows. You always, when you're doing eyebrows, you want to use tiny little strokes, so you don't end up with big blobs of paint on the face. The stroke exiting will leave a little bit of an edge that just gives a little bit of a fuzziness to the eyebrows. So it's tedious, but it's important. Next, I'm going to use this Terrestrial Titan from Army Painter. Just as a wash on his lips. I want them to be, still need to be dark, but it can be a little bit of a warmer bluish purpley color. So this Terrestrial Titan is perfect. I'm going to use this dark blue-gray from Vallejo, again as a wash in kind of the low areas and the recesses of his face. Mr. Sinister is kind of known for having dark circles around his eyes, and so this dark blue-gray, just build that up a couple layers, and that'll give me that darkness that I'm looking for. I'm going to use this sepia wash from Vallejo on his teeth to make them nasty, because that's also something Mr. Sinister is known for, having some nasty teeth. And Mr. Sinister has red eyes, but first we have to make them white. While those eyes dry, let's hit his diamond in his forehead with this metal colored chrome. Black hair needs a little bit of a highlight, so a good technique is to dry brush a dark blue color on top of it. Every time I do this, I always think of the original Superman comics, where they would draw his jet black hair with blue highlights. And every time I do this technique, it always reminds me of that. It still works. It's a good direction to take for doing jet black hair. And now let's get some dragon red in his looking balls, and some red alcohol ink on his forehead diamond. And the final step is to hit his mouth and eyes with a bit of gloss varnish. I like to use the premium Vallejo gloss varnish for this step. Really just completes the look, and the portrait's done. But before we go into the assembly, let me give you a quick tip on how to make transparent pieces that are actually transparent. I struggled with this a lot, trying to get these transparent canopies to be not hazy. I tried so many different techniques. I tried what the manufacturer said as far as like brushing transparent resin on top of them and then curing them, and it just wasn't working. I even tried making silicone molds so that I could pour clear resin into them. They turned out like crap. Granted, I didn't really put a whole lot of effort into making the molds, and I found out later on that the type of silicone I used does not react well to 3D printer resin. So I had all these little uncured silicone bubbles on the inside, and that just caused the canopies to not be clear at all. After many days of trial and error, I finally got this. Doesn't that look awesome? I'm so excited that I figured this out, and I got a repeatable process that I can show you guys. So let's go. The first thing you're going to need is some high clear resin. This is the Anycubic brand high clear resin. There are other brands, but it doesn't need to be high clear. I thought that was a marketing gimmick. It's actually a real thing. So here's the printed part in the high clear resin. It's fresh off the printer. All I did was take it off the supports. You can see it's still got dripping with clear resin. You just want to dip this in some clean alcohol, really clean alcohol, just for a couple seconds to rinse off the extra resin. After the alcohol rinse, you want to give them several hours to dry. Once they're dry, you can sand them just like any other part. I have some supports kind of in the middle top area here to keep the dome supported. So I need to go in and sand those down, and there's a little pool of a resin that cured because it was so clear. It pooled down at the very bottom, and I need to sand that out too. So I'm going to go to the sanding enclosure, get these sanded down. After the sanding, I rinse them in the clean alcohol once again and set them aside to dry, again, for several hours. At this point in the process, you're going to want to put them up on sticks or alligator clips or something so that you can handle them without touching them. After this next step, you are not going to be able to touch them again for at least 24 hours. So this is an important step. And this is the stuff you need right here. Krylon triple thick crystal clear glaze. I'll put a link in the description below. This stuff is really great. I've been looking for this for years. Make sure you read the warning label at the bottom. There's a lot of stuff you need to know. It is basically a spray enamel, so it is pretty pungent. You don't want to breathe it in. Honestly, it's probably a better idea to do this outside. My ventilation system vents to the outside, so I'm all good. And I've got my trusty respirator here. Just make sure you take the proper precautions when you're using this stuff. At the risk of being anticlimactic, it's basically give it a couple shots and that's it. It's very light coat, so you don't want to pile it on because it will pool. It will go on kind of hazy, but then it will dry to a nice clarity. You can see after a couple minutes, it's still got a little bit of a haze to it, but it's not bad at this point. Could use it, but I'm going to give these a second round of spray. So let's get a second coat on these and see what they look like. And after 24 hours to fully cure, this is the final result, and I am super, super happy with them. You can see that they are nice and clear. They feel really good to handle, and yeah, they really just keep that transparency really, really nice. You can see that brain thing like right through there. That's exactly what I was going for. So pretty happy with how that turned out. I think I am ready to move on to final assembly. That's my Mr. Sinister. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you made it here to the very end, then you would probably enjoy some of the other videos on my channel, so make sure you check those out. Hit that like button on this video and leave some comments in the comment box below. I would really appreciate it. And make sure you hit subscribe so you'll be notified when I am streaming. And until then, as always, take it easy.